Right, here we are, episode 10 of the Katz podcast, 3 days before the Red Sarachek tournament. Glad you could join us, O-Ring Glickman, alongside Akiva Poppers, Coach Katz, of course, being his show, and Mayor Wiesel leading us on the ones and twos. Coach, 3 days before tournament time, quick one-word response. How are you feeling? One word of emotion.
Well, one word's very difficult for me, Oren. I wanted to say thank you to anybody who waited for us to get live, to go live. But thanks for waiting, for whoever the three people are, or however many we have. One word response. We're just excited. Opportunity. That's the response. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So you know, when you build a program from scratch, you kind of want your kids to have the best opportunity to kind of compete at the best level they can compete at. I kind of think that's what's going to happen with them. I mean, notwithstanding what we do during our regular season with the different kind of competition we play, but from a national Jewish standpoint, it's exciting for them. I'm excited for them.
Yeah. And I imagine these next 2 days, you guys are going to be taking it very light, just
It'll be news to them. One light tonight. Probably should have been lighter than it was, but we had work to do, so kind of did it. I mean, yeah, probably lighter than today, but I thought today was like the last day we could really kind of get after it a little bit. So my guys might be a little upset because we got after it. We didn't practice for a long time, but we practiced hard enough that it and on stuff that we needed to do that it made a difference. And I think it made a difference. And now it's just kind of not the word's not winding down, just kind of trying to stay a little fresh and stay healthy.
Yeah. So it'll be Thursday night at 7:00 at the Max Stern Athletic Center. For those of you who didn't know what time Coach's boys will be playing, and there'll be Sarachek action all day, starting at 10 a.m. And the first team that'll be featured are actually the defending Yeshiva League champs now, the North Shore Lions. I don't think we're going to dig into the weeds too much, but obviously there was a Yeshiva League championship game yesterday. I know you tuned into that. What were your thoughts on the game overall, and what do you think the biggest challenges will be both on the North Shore side and the Frisch side as they both head into the Sarachek tournament?
Well, from the standpoint, I mean, there was obviously stuff I was really disappointed in that had nothing to do with the players. Let's just address. You know what? I'm going to do it now. Screw it. I'm going to do it now, and we'll remember your question because we're going to revisit it. Okay.
Sure.
But I'm watching TABC's JV game just for a sec, not long, maybe a couple minutes.
Right.
And I believe the exact chant is no, hey, goodbye. That they're screaming at whoever this is, Ramaz, right? So right. Hey, goodbye, you suck. What are we doing?
What happened to us?
What are we doing? Who taught you? And my question is, what Rebbe's in the crowd that allowed that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to embrace your students the next day, or are you going to tell them this is not the behavior we condone? You can, on the one hand, tell us about, your great midos and your great Torah learning and everything else, and on the other hand, allow your students to do that. I mean, I will say this. Last week, we played a game, and one kid went into that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 chant before the clock was that way.
Right.
As soon as that was over, boy, I lit him up like it was Christmas. Like this is not how we behave. I mean, you can do a lot of things to cheer for your program, but you can't do is being a jerk is an issue for me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm watching the Frisch North Shore thing, right?
Yeah.
And that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 nonsense went off. And I'm kind of like, you have got to be outside your mind. And the poor kid is 17 years old. It ain't like he's Giannis. You know what I mean? Getting paid $10 million a year. He's like a 16-year-old kid trying to figure this whole thing out
Right.
When you're jerking them around like that, that's just terrible. That's just terrible.
Well, the
I
Sarachek tournament's an opportunity for camaraderie and, people coming together. Is this something you fear that could happen over the weekend from a lot of
Well,
fan base?
I don't think there's any question about that. That the behavior of some of the fan base, including possibly, God forbid, our own, is just not going to be, appropriate. But like, you can't do anything about fans. They just do it, and you have to, to me, they ignore the noise. I'll tell you what we did tonight when we shot our free throws tonight in practice.
Hmm.
We did that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because there's always going to be people who do that stuff, and maybe the fact that I'm calling it out, bullseyes us even more because people kind of don't understand. I just don't know how we treat our own people this way. I just don't
Right.
get it. Just don't get it. It's very disheartening to see our behavior. You can cheer for your own team without kind of pissing on the other team
Right.
or trying to do it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and I just don't know how, if a principal allows that to continue, and in some schools it's obviously been going on for a while, how he could stand up and give them some kind of, I'm not going to call out principals per se, but administrators, and allow your kids to do stuff like that, and then stand up and start talking about midos and kol yisrael, love your neighbor as yourself. I just don't get it. It's just, well, coach, it's just gamesmanship. That is not us.
Yeah.
That is not us. And I don't, I don't like that was, I was just, I don't want to say distraught, but I was almost going to shut the game off. I just thought it's just not, you can be great fans and loud fans and interactive fans without trying to do that to a 17-year-old, 15-year-old kid. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
First thing. Now, the game itself, look, I just thought I was impressed with Alex Zakheim early in the game. He was just being himself. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on any of these teams, but I just thought, they have great size, North Shore. They play to their strength, which is great. I love teams that do that. And if you allow them, you can't be afraid of them, of their size. And at some point, well, I thought they from start to finish they were the better basketball team yesterday. I mean, they won the game. It was hard earned, hard fought. I really liked the coach. Told him so when I saw him in January, and they got what they deserved. I was happy for Cody Cohen, and good for them. Like and good for them. Okay. So now how do they move on?
Yeah. Because in their minds, it was season's a success.
Yeah, Frisch, you got to put this puppy away right quick. Like, you got to play in 3 days from now. That's I'm thinking.
Well, Berman and Frisch both lost in their respective finals games.
Yeah, but one's had a month and a half to get over it.
Sure.
The other one had 3 days. I mean, there are some losses.
Sure.
That take forever. I know, because we lived through one. So this year, but had it been a 1-point loss, it'd have been one of these things. Like, that one would have been really difficult to get over. This will still be difficult to move on from.
Right. But the fact it was a 20-point game.
Yeah, like, at some point you just realize you're getting spanked, and it's over, and you kind of grin and bear it, and now we got to move on if we want to play in this tournament. It happens to every team. So it just it happened not to be your day. And then the real question is, and I think it is a more of a leadership thing amongst players, I think, to be able to kind of put it behind you. That'd be impressive to me if they could put it behind them and get back to playing the way they were playing before Thursday. I mean, before Sunday. And then Thursday got to come out and play because that team they're playing is going to be pretty good now. Like they're Burman's no joke, and if they take them lightly, you know. So you got to put that behind you. As for North Shore, I wouldn't be sleeping on this group from Cleveland. I just wouldn't. So they're
You were in a dogfight with them.
yeah. Their preparation was ridiculously good, and they're going to be prepared. And if you're fixing to win this tournament too, then you have to this has to go away on Wednesday at least. Like by Wednesday, you got to get rid of it. I don't think you can sit with it for much longer than that. Because if you're still celebrating on Thursday, these guys from Cleveland are going to come back and punch you in the mouth.
Right. I mean, Ramaz last year, they were the defending champs, and they on opening day they fell to Mag and David, and then they didn't care for the rest of the tournament.
Right. So I think North Shore is a little different situation because all those kids, not all of them, but a lot of them come back.
A lot of them are juniors, correct?
Yeah. So even if they get beat here, there's still a lot of coaching to be done. Yeah. Whereas the Ramaz team had a lot more seniors, right?
Right. Rubenstein, Rosenfeld, Avizada.
Right.
I'm Sai, Aminzada.
Yeah. Right. So when that team was graduating anyway, they didn't win. They're like, whatever, But this team right here now, they bring a lot of people back, and they're kind of looking, quote unquote, dynastic in their own mind.
Yeah.
So
because they also have a JV title from last year to go along with that.
They may start yesterday, but this weekend's a whole nother animal because it's not just your borough. Dealing with teams from all over the country. And like I said, if you sleep on those guys in Cleveland and you're not ready to play, they're come bite you, and that one's gonna hurt. And it's not Mag and David, it's some out of town team. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think those teams, if they're not California teams, those teams bother Yeshiva League teams more than any.
Yeah. I mean, they're one of the top seeds in the tournament, but I think you can make a case because they're in a very unique situation, only winning a championship a few days ago, that this is going to be a very unique type of mental test for them.
One that they really haven't had before.
True.
So, everything else was on their own court. Now, they have the advantage of playing on this 4 days earlier. So they're used to the multiple lines and all that stuff. Now, the value for Fuchs is they played on there a few times last year. So they may be more used to that than a normal team might be.
And we assume they're arriving Wednesday night, correct?
Correct. But, North Shore has a regular day. I mean, regular in the sense that they get to sleep at home. They're not flying in or driving in, and they don't have to get their badges at the hotel and, get their rooms and figure out where breakfast is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a little, when you're not sleeping at home, it's a little different. But, so the North will have a little bit of advantage, but they still got to get from Brooklyn, I guess.
Great Neck,
to Manhattan in the morning. Great Neck, is that what you said?
Yeah, great.
So they're still going to have to do that. So there's pluses and minuses for both of them. I'm just saying that you can't really sleep on these kids like they're in Cleveland. I'm just going to put a warning out there. If they're not ready for them, they're going to get bit.
Yeah.
And it'll be a test for them, but they're the champs. So let's see what they got going on.
Yeah.
I actually think they're both a tough out, Fuchs and these other cats. I think they're a tough out.
I think both of them can be in such a big battle that by tier 1 quarterfinal time, like they're not totally rested from that game, and it could set them back.
Well, it's a possibility, but you got to remember now, Fuchs hasn't played anybody since they played Berman.
Right, since the Maryland Convention weekend.
Right. So you're talking about 3 weeks without playing. A little different than a week without playing. It's definitely a little different than 4 days without playing.
Yeah.
So
You guys actually might be one of the more fresh teams coming from out of town
I
because you
mean,
made the effort to schedule games.
yeah, to play recent. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard because there's not a lot of teams out here who play. They're all playing baseball or
Yeah.
lacrosse. So you have to find specific ones, and lucky for us, we found a team that had a kid who was close to 1,000 points that wanted to play, and just came up on a good side of that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Coach, can you just speak a little bit to with Fuchs how they've played a team which was 7-3, 6-8, 6-8, 6-3, 6-3. The benefits of playing
Sure.
against non, I guess, Jewish teams, essentially teams which have more size before coming to Sergio.
Right. Well, I mean, the Yeshiva League's unique in that, like, I was watching that North Shore SAR playoff game, and I was stunned how I think it was North Shore that came out after the buzzer in the beginning of the second half. That's a tech in every other league in America, probably the world. If you don't come out at halftime, they're teeing you up, and the other team's taking 2 shots on the ball. That's what's up. Doesn't happen in the Yeshiva League, and I'm not really sure why. There are a few unique things that go on in the Yeshiva League that I don't necessarily understand, but I don't have to. And they don't have to explain it to me. But in any other league in America, you're getting teed up because you're not out the locker room in time. So that's the first thing. The value so that just references the fact that Yeshiva League teams don't necessarily have that kind of size. I think they have 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" size, occasionally 6'5" size. Every once in a while you get somebody bigger than that. But to be able to play against a team like that and be successful, you're not going to be intimidated by the kind of size that North Shore has. Now they have great size across the board from the standpoint of it's like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", that kind of thing. So that from that standpoint, they have like a bit of an advantage because they're across the board tall or big, But the value of being able to play teams like that out of town, to be able to play teams like that, I can't even quantify it, because you walk in now and you play North Shore and you're like, yeah, well, they're big, but they ain't what we just saw. And we were okay here, and here's how we did it. Like, that's how you teach your team. Like, whatever team we're going to see in the tournament, including North Shore, they're just not as big as some of the teams we played on our schedule. So Fuchs, out of town teams like Hebrew Academy, you do run into the 6'8", 6'5" front lines like that. You have to figure it out, and then I think you can rely on that experience when you get to New York. The value, of course, for the New York teams is the familiarity with the gym, the familiarity with their own bed. So their first 2 days are kind of playing in familiar circumstances, whether they're going to school and then going to the game like a regular week. Like, we're going to a hotel, and then we're going to try to find a place, in the morning. And then you got to figure out how long you're going to stay in the YU gym, because you don't want to get just sitting around there all day. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that you have to factor in that if you're a New York school, you don't. You just get on the bus at X time and you land there. Huh?
You go play. That's it.
That's like a regular school day. So, but for the answer to your question is, I mean, the reason that Zach and them probably schedule teams like that was for exactly this reason, that you're going to, you may play some teams either from New York or out of town that have decent size that you have to see, and let's get the experience. I mean, there's reasons we played some of the teams we played that we probably shouldn't have, and they were specifically chosen to play for that reason. So now, now it's just so. Pop, you can rely on that, and I think you can even rely on that for a bit in game. But once you get into the flow of the game, it's whatever happens You know, once the game starts, you're just cooking. And I don't care how big the team you played last week was. You got to deal with us, man. Pajamas right here. You know what I mean? Like I get that they were 6'8" and 6'4" and 6'5", but you got to deal with us. We're 6'4", 6'3", 6'2", and we're staying right here, and we don't believe you're going to be able to score on us. Period. You know what I mean? So there is value to it, Pop, and it means a lot as far as teaching your team and being able to draw from that experience. But the bottom line is, once the ball gets rolled out, you're just playing that basketball game and have to deal with everything that surrounds that: the crowd, the size, the team you're playing, the fact that they just won a championship. It's a big deal. It's hard to overcome, and they are tough enough, and I just think North Shore, just strap up, because it's gonna be a ball game, regardless of the final score. It's gonna be a ball game.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to start off Tier 1 play.
Yeah, for sure.
10 a.m. games are usually they don't really draw a crowd, but I think this is worth the turnout.
It may be. I mean, North Shore itself is going to possibly bring a crowd.
Yeah, they don't generally, but I don't know. We've been surprised before.
They did yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was decent attendance.
So are they going to have the same intensity for this? Who knows?
Yeah.
If they're not, guys are going to have to generate their own excitement. And if you're a kid, you waited for this, especially if you're from out of town, you can't generate your own excitement, you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, I guess it's a good segue into the next topic that I want to talk about. Obviously, you always have these high school kids who always dream about taking their game to the next level, but I think there are also some pragmatic high schoolers that know this is going to be the last time that they play on, quote unquote, the big stage. What's your advice to these types of kids, knowing that this could really be it for them, knowing that they're really not going to play serious, competitive, organized basketball like the Red Sarachek tournament?
Right. Well, I think you've taken this all the way to Pesach. Like, you've taken this all the way to Passover. So your season started for most of them in September, October. Now it's run all the way through March. So you've really had a long season. But if it's your last season, it's like I say all the time, this is not the most important thing in your life. But when you're doing it, it is. Or otherwise, why do it? You know what I mean? So here you have a great opportunity. You have a great opportunity to kind of close out your basketball career. It's as far as the Jewish community is concerned, it's the grandest stage you're going to be on. And if you had at some point dreams of playing at yeshiva or any other college thing, and it just isn't happening for you, this is the opportunity. And if you're a kid who's a tweener, well, we don't know if you're good enough. There's opportunity. The bottom line is, this is the last time you're playing. You may as well leave it all on the floor, because the kids who are always in a hurry to grow up, I don't think they realize that in 10 years from now, they're going to look back and go, boy, I was rushing that too quick.
Yeah.
There's no reason to get out. When you're in high school, you want to get over it. And then when you get out of high school and you're done with college or whatever you're doing, you're looking back on, boy, why did I rush myself out of high school? So this is an opportunity to enjoy the experience, because it's not coming again. Like that's going to happen. Things like that, like experiences that aren't coming again. I mean, that's going to happen to you, 30 times in your life, let's just say, right? Probably more, but that you can recognize at the time. And that one of the things, I got this quote from Tim Grover. He said, if you think the pain of working out, the pain of your bone, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember the whole quote. But if you think the pain of working out and having your bones creak and feeling all achy inside, and the pain of hard work, if you think that's painful, wait till you feel the pain of regret. and not giving yourself an opportunity to kind of play as hard as you can for as long as you can in this tournament, you'll regret that the rest of your life. The rest of your life. They're like, I can think of at least 10 things offhand I regret that I can never get back. So that my thing is, you have to make the most of this opportunity. And at the same time, nothing is better than your good name, or your family's good name, or your school's good name. And what are you going to do? What's your behavior going to be like when you're here? Are you going to act like a jerk? Are you going to play with sportsmanship, behave like a man? Or are you going to be a punk? You know what I mean? And so how do you want to go out? You have an opportunity to control. That's all control. You have an opportunity to control that. Like, how I mean, kids who don't take advantage of this will regret it for the rest of their life. That's what I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
You'll regret it for the rest of your life. And if you act like a jerk on this stage, everybody's going to see it. When you go to school next year in Israel, they're all going to, oh, yeah, that was a jerk. Yeah, that was the guy who swung at somebody. That was the guy who lost his cool. That was the guy, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to remember you miss a big shot. They just don't, they're not going to remember it. They'll remember you, maybe you make one. Guys like you will remember that, guy making a big shot. But they'll remember you if you're a jerk, if you play like a moron, if you're screaming at your teammates, if you're yelling at your coaches, they'll remember you. And unfortunately, you may have business dealings with some of these people down the road. That's the thing, the camaraderie, the opportunity for the camaraderie and to establish relationships that will benefit you in 20 years from now, 10 years from now. Invaluable. Like I always say, Donnie met Simcha Halpert.
I was just about to say it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he met Simcha Halpert at this tournament.
Yeah.
They both met Gabe Leifer. And they both watched Ryan Terrell, as I believe was a freshman at the time.
Yeah.
They met Daniel Sion, and they just kind of made a decision, not so much Gabe, but Donnie and Sim first, to kind of, let's do this thing. And then that kind of rolled into Gabe the next year and Ryan the year after that. And before you know it, that tournament, 4 years later, you're 29-1 and in the Sweet 16. What? Talk about making the most of your opportunity. Because the crazy part is, you called the game where Donnie got hurt.
Yeah.
And then Simcha got hurt that same night. So Elliot wanted to see them both. I think he saw them both that day, and that was enough for both of them, or enough for him. And that's taking advantage of your opportunity. You understand? Even though he was recruiting them all year, seeing a kid in person is the most important thing for me as a coach. How they behave, are they leaders? How they treat their teammates, their coaches, that whole thing. And then obviously how they play. And they both played well enough the first night where he's like, yeah, I really do want to build around you guys. You want to come. I need to find somebody who's as crazy as I am. And they were. And it started at this tournament. And talk about taking advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Man, that's historic as far as Yeshiva University is concerned.
So I'd like to flip the script now with my original question.
Yeah.
Now you have these 5 or 10 plus players who do have collegiate potential, and they might overthink things a little bit heading into this tournament, because we definitely know at least one coach will be in attendance.
Right.
What's your advice to those types of players?
Forgive me, I'm quiet. This happens when you talk too much. Just play. Just play. Look, my advice, and I think if our guest who comes on, who I'm looking forward to having, I'll address it with him too. Coaches, like when I would go watch a kid, I'm watching the kid, but more importantly, I'm watching his behavior. Again, yelling at your teammates, yelling at your coaches. Do it look like your teammates enjoy playing with you? What's your demeanor on the bench? What happens when you get taken out of the game? How do you sit on the bench? Are you cheering for players who were cheering for you when you were playing? Are you talking to the crowd? Are you looking for mom and dad? Are you making faces with your dad, or your mom? Those are the things I look for. I can tell if a kid can play in a minute and a half max. I tell you right away. Then there's some kids who you got to watch a little more and say, well, I think he can, but let's see if he, I'm thinking he could be this, but maybe he's, the kids who come here and try to impress, what I think those kids don't realize is what they believe the coaches are going to be impressed with. They have no idea that coaches don't really care about that stuff. Scoring, dribbling between your legs and going nowhere. Most coaches worth their salt could care less you could do that. Because the bottom line is you're playing within his system, and he needs to find out, are you a kid we can recruit to play in our system? And again, if you have those negative characteristics, like I really believe this, what kids think are important, and you know how I know this because of the films we get. Like I got a film today, and as I told the person who sent it to me and shared it, we got a film from a kid wanting to come to YU. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I should be insulted that he's this bad or that he thinks that's kind of the player we recruit, and he thinks he's good enough. In other words, don't insult us by sending non-talented film. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean? Like, at least give us. It's kind of like, it's crazy because I like the kid a lot, and it's not his fault. But Jimmy Patsos going on TV and talking about some kid from Bethel he should be, University should look at. I mean, he's.
I texted you about that.
He's a nice little player, Michael. I like him a lot, and he beat us up pretty good. But Jimmy doesn't understand what we're recruiting if that's what Jimmy thinks. Mike's 5'7", 5'8". Maybe he's 5'10", maybe. But Jimmy doesn't get what Yeshiva University's after. Jimmy thinks that's what we should be recruiting. And it's not something I won't tell Jimmy myself, But, Mike's not Ryan. Mike's not even Tyler. Yeah. Mike's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I like him a lot, and he's a really good kid, and it's a really good program. But come on, Jimmy. And by the way, Mike's better than the kid we got film on today. But come on, really? You don't know what we recruit. I think a lot that happens with a lot of guys. They just don't understand, what goes on a different level. So, and kids definitely don't understand what coaches are looking for. They think they know. Because, their trainer told them, you had 31 tonight. The coach is going to love you. Coach going to look at your 31 and find out how you got it. Did you get it playing within the system or DYOS, doing your own stuff? So my advice to kids who may have an opportunity or think they have an opportunity to play at this next level, you better play hard on every possession. Never take a possession off. Don't overvalue your scoring. Don't undervalue your teamwork. Pay attention to how you behave on the bench. Pay attention to how you interact with your teammates and the other team. Pay attention to if you're interacting with fans. Act with humility. Be a mensch. All that stuff you think coaches want, they don't. And I can tell you from 40 years of doing this that they, we went to recruit a kid at a really good Catholic school here in Baltimore. And we went to this game they were playing in, and we ended up recruiting another kid from his team instead of him. Okay, even though that this kid had all that other stuff going on, it was that kid that we were really interested in.
Yeah.
When we left the gym. I can't tell you how many times that happens. I would say that more than half of the kids you recruit, you get because you were going to look for somebody else. It's interesting. I like to ask our guest. Do we get confirmation on that, Pop?
Yep, Clifton. He's going to let me know when, but he's
right. I can't wait to ask him questions like that because he's a really good basketball coach who's a really good program, and I without him knowing what I'm saying, let's see if we can get him to concur, or
Coach,
let's hear his opinion on it.
Was that story from when you were at Goucher? When was that story from?
Yeah, I was at Goucher, and that one of the two of the kids we recruited, both ended up starting in the round of 32 for us. We might even gotten to the Sweet 16 that year. I mean, they were cornerstones of our program. Like we had graduated the kids who kind of built the program, and then they came in and really expanded on it, and were pretty good. And it's funny, they just were so unassuming. The one kid, I just can't begin to tell you how many times you go to get another kid, and the kid you really want, you kind of walk out the gym, go, I'm not sure I want him anymore. That other kid was pretty good now. And then you end up finding out that the other kid's just a better kid, forget the better player. I mean, sometimes, and this is really true, sometimes you pass on some of the talent for character. Now, you can't have character and no talent. But if you have talent and no character, I'd much rather take the character with a little less talent. Because I can get that little less character. I can get that character with a little less talent to work hard to maybe reach that other level through hard work. But you get a kid with a bunch of talent and no character, you're in for 4 long years. We've experienced that too. A lot, sadly. So from that standpoint, that'd be my advice to kids right here.
No, I think everything you're saying is right, and I think hopefully it'll resonate with all these players who are going to be in action over the weekend. I think there's also another component, and I like your input on this as well. I think a lot of these players, they can't overthink things. They can't think that it's all or nothing. And I think a really good example is actually someone like Effie Freundlich.
Sure. I mean, who's he? Right?
Right.
Like, where did he come from? Like
he never stole headlines at a Sarachek tournament.
Oh, and I don't think Sarachek tournament is your make all or end all. You're either on the radar or you're not. Now you could come to this tournament and get people's attention. That's a different thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there may be coaches who, like, there'll be kids that we know we're looking at that don't know we're looking at them, that will either put themselves in the conversation or close the door on it. That's happened to extremely talented players who came to this tournament in years past, who closed the door on their opportunity to come here and play. Strictly by their behavior and other kind of things going on at the tournament. And then there were other kids at that tournament who were nowhere near the radar, and we just go, who is that? Why is he not why do we not know about him? I think those happen more. The better question is, I guess you'd have to ask Elliot or Ellie, maybe even Donnie. The better question is, are there more kids that we thought we wanted that we didn't want, that we, after this tournament, we cross off the list? Or are there more kids that we didn't know about that we found out about?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if Donnie or Ellie are listening, but I'd love to have their input on that. I'd like to think, honestly, that there are more kids that we get crossed off the list for various reasons, not just behavior, but various reasons. I think there are more kids we cross off the list, but I think the kids who surprise you a little bit are not as few and far between as one might think. Now, as we become better, okay, as the programs become better, and is my son texting me the answer to this question? I don't know. Let's see what he has to say. I don't know.
Wait till after.
More kids we cross off, unfortunately. That's what he said.
Sounds about right.
So, come on. Not for
I think he's gonna pass, Coach.
For somebody else. What'd you say?
I think he's gonna pass on your offer.
Yeah, he might, but I'm asking my former boss if he wants to come on, because he just texted me about Pop's tweet. So, Ellie kind of saying that we cross more kids off the list. I think that's true. I think I was right about that.
And that's neither positive nor negative. It's just a fact.
My boss wants to come on. You guys want 10 minutes? You want
Rabbi Silver?
No, my old boss.
From Goucher, yeah.
Yeah.
Leonard?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him on.
Yeah. More the merrier.
Because I think he can answer a lot of these questions, by the way.
Sure.
He's doing a hell of a job.
The thing is, whenever we have the guests, I lose my moderator status. You gain it.
That's true. He doesn't want to come on tonight. All right, Coach, you're going to get to hear. He's probably watching right now. Some other day, we'll be glad to have him. That'd be great.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Awesome. This is, how rude is this that, you're doing a podcast and then you're texting some cat in the middle of it. So Ellie's right. Ellie just confirmed what I thought, that we kind of, and again, it's because kids don't understand what coaches are looking for. They think they know. Their coaches, some coaches think they know, but sadly they don't.
Yeah,
So
Coach, we should also note if there are any kids in the chat, kids watching or parents watching, if they have any questions for Coach to send in the chat, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, let me ask you this, and this is not me trying to get you to throw your competitors under the bus, but do you think some of these coaches who are coming for the weekend, you think they don't know what you just stated, or do you think there are coaches who do know?
I kind of mean it in this way, two things. One, it's possible that I'm not. This is not a negative on the other coaches. It's just they don't know.
Right. It's a generalization.
Well, but I mean by the end of that is this: it's possible they don't know the level of player we're looking at. And the only reason I say that is sometimes, I'll get sent some film from coaches, not necessarily coming to this tournament, but every once in a while. And I get that the guy loves his kid, but they may not understand the kind of kid we're looking for right now. You understand what I mean? Like that yeshiva's looking for right now. So that's one. Two, no, I'm not trying to throw any competitors under the bus. I think young coaches in particular may not know because they don't have a relationship with the guys they should. If you want your kid to get looked at by yeshiva, you should reach out to Ellie, because that's the first line of defense right there. He's the one, You know, when Elliot gets filmed, he sends it to Ellie, and that's what he should do. It shouldn't be Elliot's. You know, Elliot shouldn't have to watch all the film. He sends it to other people.
Right.
He sends it to his assistants who he trusts, and one of them is Ellie. So Ellie or Donnie get film. Right. Yeah, there are some coaches who don't know. Yeah, I'm not. Whether they're coming to this tournament or not. I would tell you that. I would tell you that. Sadly, there's a lot of coaches who don't know. Like they just think that. Okay, that's unfair. Let me say it this way. There's a lot of coaches who don't know what Yeshiva's looking for. You know, they may know what, you know, Chatham's looking for. I'm saying that because boss is the AD over there, but they may know, you know, the kind of whatever style of basketball they play. But I think Yeshiva's looking for a unique player, like somebody unique who we don't have to argue about what we're going to do, just was going to do what we're going to do because that's how we play.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we've had that conversation before. Like don't come into school and then start knowing that we're recruiting you, telling you what we do, and then all of a sudden you come in and tell us what you want to do. It doesn't work that way. These banners were hung up by people who paid attention, not by people who told us what to do. Right? So in that sense, that's what I mean by coaches don't know. Like it's not a mean thing. It's just you have to kind of know what we're looking for, or what they're looking for, I should say. You have to know what they're looking for, but that honestly, that's not just at Yeshiva. That's like at Swarthmore and at Mary Hardin Baylor and at Christopher Newport, and you understand, and at Lincoln and at Chatham and at Goucher and at Catholic. You know, each kind of. But I would tell you that the one thing all of us have in common when we're recruiting kids, at least I think so, maybe it's not the case, but is character and behavior.
Yeah.
How you act off the floor is as important in the ball game. Is as important as how you act on the floor. And I'd like to hear Cliff's take on that, as a matter of fact. But it's no fault of the coach, you know. The other coaches who don't know, because how would they know? They're like coaching in high school in a very bubbled environment, so to speak.
Closed-minded. Yeah, I was just about to say.
I don't want to say closed-minded, but it's very bubbled. You know, it's only your 4 feet. You know what I mean? Like it's only your square, your closet. So you don't really have a great. How would you know unless you engage and ask questions, I think. So or you knew because you played at a place like Yeshiva or Chatham or Goucher or UMBC, you know what I mean? But even then you may not know what the coach where your kid wants to go is looking for. So to no fault of their own, it's just circumstance. And as coaches get older, you know, like I did, you learn more. And when you learn more, you understand more what coaches are looking for. You know, I just happen to have the experience of being one of those coaches who was looking for some of the stuff.
Yeah. You have had the opportunity to coach a lot of games and a lot of tournaments.
Right.
You know, obviously, I think a lot of our viewers know that you coached in the Saturn tournament. Was that a first for you, Saturn?
Yes, first time I ever did
that. Sarachek is just very unique compared to the Globermans and Saturns that are out there. What specifics stand out to you of why you think the Red Sarachek tournament is such a special tournament for coaches and kids?
Well, one, you know, like Saturn, you're just kind of first of all, it's a long event, and you're all in the same building. Like you're all staying in the same hotel. You're all spending the weekend together. Now you're doing that at Saturn, but you're going home in somebody else's house, and you don't. It's like, yeah, you're not on the 6th floor, and I'd come down to your room on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
So we could hang over there, right? You finish eating and you either walk home with everybody else, or on a Friday night, but like on a Thursday, you just go home. You understand? Here you're going back to your hotel room, and the next hotel room is some kid from Uland. The one across the street, some kid from out of Crown. So that's unique in that maybe some of these kids spent summers together. Akin to kids playing AAU together on the non-Jewish level. And they see each other at tournaments and stuff like that. So they get to know each other and decide, hey, we're going to go to Kentucky together. So that's the first unique thing. The second unique thing is you have the powerful reach of Yeshiva University that is willing to host and do all they're doing for it. And you're really talking about, the entire scope of North America, because California, I don't know this year if Texas is coming, but
I don't believe so, right, Pop?
Right. Pennsylvania.
Yep, no teams from Texas this year.
Pennsylvania, Maryland, Ohio, Massachusetts, Florida,
Illinois,
Michigan. Wherever there's, I wouldn't say wherever there's a Jewish community, but it's a really, talking about Canada. So you're like, it's really kind of a large reach, and you don't like you could go to like the tournament in Memphis and there'll be 6 or 7 teams there, maybe 8. You can go to Globerman's going to have 6 or 7 teams, right? But that's very kind of, maybe there's 8 teams, whatever it is, but it's very kind of, and some of these teams, by the way, all the teams at Globerman, I think, are they all coming to Sarachek Pop? I think they are, right?
I mean, Gloverman was such a long time ago, but yeah, typically almost
Really,
all.
November was long ago. What are you, 85 years old? November.
He's eating dinner, Coach.
I'm eating dinner at the same time, but yeah, I can double check for you, but I'm pretty sure the answer.
It seems to me Maimonides was there, Eula was there, Valley Tour was there, Shalhevet was there, SAR was there,
ABC,
Herman was there, TABC was there, and they're all in this tournament.
Frisch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Frisch, and they're all in this tournament. The team from Florida is in this tournament.
Ramaz is not in there.
Ramaz is not in here. So,
but yeah, everyone else is.
Right. So, but then then there's the Saturn tournament where some of these teams played, and then there were other teams like Mag and David and North Shore that were in that tournament. So like Berman, they went and played in California, and then they went and played at Saturn, and now they're coming to you. They basically, Berman's going to basically run the gamut on every team in America. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna be at some point in the tournament with every team this year that went and traveled to tournaments. So it's unique because of its centralized location. It's unique because I don't want to say it's a granddaddy of them all, but it's sort of like the end of year celebration of your season, so to speak. And it's a chance for a lot of teams who didn't win the postseason to kind of win in the postseason, if you know what I mean. And then in some way, though I'm not sure if this has any legs, but in some way it's bragging rights in the Jew community. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe there's something to that, but I just kind of think like, from my standpoint, like I guess I saw Ed Gelb at like various Wiener tournaments at Betafilla, but I wasn't spending the weekend there. And here it was where, I think we came in 98, 99, those 2 years, and then I did not come back until 22. So like Ed's coming all the time. So an opportunity, we had a great chance to sit down Shabbos morning at breakfast and just kind of talk for quite a while and catch up on stuff that we were, just like I said before, I think him and I were the only two guys coaching in that tournament that were there last year. And not coincidentally, I'll add, him and I were both in the bottom, of the tournament, and had an opportunity now to kind of tell our guys, with hard work, we can move up and kind of maybe have an opportunity to play for something here next year. And that's sort of what happened. So maybe the two old guys had something going on. Do we have is our
Coach,
guest?
you ready for Coach Carroll?
It's unbelievable. I can't wait.
All right, here we go. All right. Papa smiling.
This is Pop's wheelhouse. Coach.
He says to give him a few minutes and then he'll be ready.
All right.
No
all right.
problem. No problem. So,
Yeah.
Coach, just interrupt us whenever you get a chance. So Ed and I were the only, I think, because Avram wasn't coaching, Rafi wasn't coaching. So, I'm trying to think. It was just Ed and I, and Joey was coaching, and he wasn't in the tournament that year. So, you think he told me he wasn't. I kind of think he was, but whatever it was. So it's me, Joey, and Ed. You know what I mean? So here's Ed and I, the two old guys who kind of didn't have a chance to compete for a spot in Tier 1 a year ago, and now I'm correct about that, right, Pop?
Yep, that's right.
And now the two old guys, So it was cool for me to kind of catch up with Ed, and luckily for me at least, we've been able to stay in contact over the course of the year. So I'm kind of excited to see him a little bit, and it's a great environment to the camaraderie first for the players and the coaches, which is kind of why I really want to do this roundtable, but. Yeah. I just don't know if we're going to get that opportunity to do it, but because schedule wise, right?
Right. Logistics wise.
Yeah. So that's why it's unique a little bit, and you have the big behemoth that is behemoth in a good way, that is YU, that can host it.
Yeah.
So,
Coach, we actually have a question in the chat for you.
Sure.
What are the dynamics that have changed in LA that make EULA now the third team?
I wish I knew more about it, but I know enough about it that the dynamics, I think, really stem from. It kind of all stems from EULA. Like, people forget, EULA was the only show in town that was. I guess Valley Toro was always there, but sometimes some schools treat sports like their toy department. EULA kind of, as far as I can remember, never did that. They treated it like, what I mean? They treated it like it was part of their program.
And that was when Coach Gelb was there also too.
Yeah, when Ed was there, yeah. And so then now all of a sudden people don't want to send their kids to EULA, so they're going to send their kids to, say, Shalhevet. New school opens up. Now Shalhevet was a new school 20 years ago or whatever it was, but they didn't have the cachet that EULA did. And then, now you're starting to draw kids away from EULA, and they're splitting up. I mean, could you imagine if there were, only one school and all them kids were in one school? It's pretty deep bench. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like in Maryland, if we all were in one school, it'd be a pretty deep bench. So I think that's the number one dynamic. The number one dynamic is, competition breeds excellence in a way. So.
And I guess these other schools have just caught up with the times.
I think so. I mean, I think whatever it is, whether it's, I know after Ed left, his assistant took over for a while, then he left. And then I'm not really sure they ever got their footing back. I mean, that's not true because Eli was there, and they were pretty good when Eli was there. So Eli Hamby,
Sure.
when he was coaching. So,
It's
and
a
then,
great team.
and then they just so then I think a lot of times, I don't want to say that. I think for Eula, their success bred these other schools' success. Like we want to be Eula, and now that they surpass Eula, and Eula kind of wants to be them again, if you know what I mean.
And coach, also to kind of expand on your point, Shalheven and Valley Torah weren't winning anything until after Eula stopped winning. The second Eula stopped winning, that's when Shalheven and Valley Torah started becoming the powerhouses, and now all the kids want to go to Shalheven and Valley Torah because they want to win the championships there.
Right. They used to want to go to Eula because
And I guess they also see the high school players from these schools who have succeeded at the YU level. It's been a while since YU had a talented EULA player.
Daniel too.
I mean, that's it, really.
And Daniel didn't really stay long.
That's when I could remember. He just got hurt and decided to rehab at home, and it was like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened. I think that's what happens. Yeah, and to me, that's the, you are a victim of your own excellence, in a sense. I think Ed can probably answer that question better than me, although he was gone and they were still competitive for quite a bit. So maybe Eli can answer that question better than I can. But I think from the outside looking in, that's what it looks like to me. And Pop hit the nail on the head. I think kids want to follow success, and kids want to win as much as adults want to win.
Yeah.
So, that
looks like we have another question,
Sure.
Sarachek related. How do you handle scouting when there are so many games in such a small time span?
That's great. That's kind of like the same question we're going to be able to ask Coach Carroll when he comes on. The crazy thing is that, I mean, I've been doing this for so long that you just get used to it. You kind of, one, you have to compartmentalize. Let's be really clear. You have to handle Thursday first. Like if you don't handle Thursday or Friday, whatever day you're playing, you can't put all your eggs in Friday or Sunday's basket. So what you have to do, and by the way, you can't start doing it in March. When you know you're coming to this tournament in October, you start in October. Like November games are important to you because you get to watch them play.
Right.
Whoever it is. I mean, you have to watch as many as you can before you can deep dive into it. Then you have some idea of what you're playing against, right? So, but then you have to compartmentalize, and you got to make sure you put the team you're playing first to bed, even though I don't think you ever put them to bed, but you put them to bed early enough in the week where you could kind of look at the rest of your bracket and you're part of the bracket. And now you should have some work done from earlier in the year, but then you can kind of zero in on the last 5 games if you have access to them. And so now you're in your bracket, and then you take from your bracket, you should have, there's kind of like, you're bracketed in such a way where the 4 teams in your quadrant and the 4 teams you're going to have to play in the next quadrant. I mean, quadrant's the right word, right, Pop? Like it's quadrant, right? So we know the 4 teams that we're up against.
Yeah, well, it's called the quadrant because quad is 4, but
yeah, thanks, Pop.
In D3 we call it pods, so
screw the pod. We're calling it quadrants.
Great terminology right there.
Quadrants is good. The team which you're playing, let's say you're playing on Thursday. The team you're playing on Thursday, and then there are two possible teams you could play on Friday if you win on Thursday, and then you know which team you're playing if you lose on Thursday.
Correct. And then if you win, if you win, then you're really directed to another quadrant, and you have,
Right. Right.
know-
So like if you win the 8-9 game, then you're playing the 1 or the 16. And then you know that if you win that game, you're playing the 4, 5, 12, 13.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you have to, and then honestly, I think at that point, you obviously there's nothing better than watching the team play live for all the reasons I said before. But then from a scouting standpoint, nothing better than watching it. Because as much as you watch teams on film, you don't necessarily know how aggressive they are. You don't know how tough they are. You don't know how quick they are. I mean, you can tell on film, but it's nothing like watching kids whiz by you and you just go, what was that? You know what I mean? Like you don't, like I'm telling you, FAU played FDU last night.
I'm not over that yet.
Okay, sorry. There's no way there's no way they knew how quick Roberts was till he got on the floor. No way.
Yeah, I mean they probably assumed they were going to play Purdue.
Could be, but they had to have FDU in their pocket. Maybe they didn't, But
Yeah, but even if they had FDU in their pocket, it's a difference to see
you still don't know how quick he is.
Right. And also there's a certain je ne sais quoi about him that he was playing with a certain pizzazz that he was not playing with earlier in the season.
Could be true, and maybe he's a lights guy. When the lights got brighter, he got better, kind of thing.
Welcome to March.
But I don't think you really get a sense of that until you're like you kind of got to see a guy live. When you see a guy live, it changes it. So when you're at this tournament, you might want to try to see your quadrant too. Like you want to see the games that your quad is playing, and then you want to see the games that the other quad is playing that you might see on Sunday. So,
right. For example, you'll be at the 4:00 game on Thursday.
Correct. So like there is that whole so I think you got to put your Thursday game to bed by today or tomorrow. And then you got to start working on Friday. And by the way, if you get kicked in one of those things, you drop down to another tier and you got to figure that opponent out, But when you're scouting, I think that's how you have to do it. You have to kind of say, all right, I'm going to get this thing to bed now, and we're going to start working on this group. You have a light. Now, when you're a staff of one, it's a little difficult, because you're the one watching all the film. Like I guarantee you, the way FAU did it was they had somebody do Purdue, and they had another one of their assistants do FDU.
Yeah, they had their worst assistant do FDU.
Didn't we do something similarly the year we were at
Benji Ritholtz scattered Penn State Harrisburg.
Right. Because we had to take care of three different teams. We had to take care of Hopkins, we had to take care of WIP, and we had to take care of Harrisburg. And I think I did WIP, Ellie did Hopkins, and Benji did.
Yep, that's right. WPI video.
Huh?
WPI.
Did I say WIP?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So we all kind of did a piece of all of it. Don't get me wrong, but like you put your energies where you likely think you're going to play.
Right. Well, you're a staff of one, right? But you have.
Not if I had my children with me, I could just send it out to my children and say, "Hey, watch this for me," because they know how I think.
Right.
My assistants might know how I think, but they don't necessarily know how I watch film. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And my assistants don't necessarily. You want to train your coaches to be coaches.
And speaking of coaches, we have Coach Carroll in the waiting room, Coach.
All right, bring him in.
All right, here
We'll get back to it. Remember the question.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting for me.
Yes.
Good basketball coaches are cool to talk to. Coach, you muted.
Coach Carroll, you with us? Coach Carroll of Mary Hardin Baylor, for those of you who don't know.
Coach, if you're muted, we can't hear you.
All right, how about, can you hear me now?
I got you now.
There we go.
I knew
Here
you
we
were
go.
muted. You Texans, take a minute.
Coach Carroll, welcome to the Harold Katz podcast.
There we go. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Coach? Good to finally see you, brother.
Hey, man.
Got a hell of a year. What a great year you had.
Yeah, we wish as always we go a little bit further, but Christopher Newport was a better team that night. But we're not going to shake a stick at what we did, man. We had a good time this year.
Yeah, Cliff, how many years you been there now?
This is my third season in Mary Hardin Baylor.
And where were you before, and how'd you do in the NCAA tournament?
We were out at a place called Sul Ross in Alpine, Texas.
Right.
Alpine's not the end of the earth, but you can see it from there. So I had 5 years out there. We won the regular season 3 times. We made it to the tournament once.
Right.
We got bounced by St. Olaf in the first round. We had to fly up to Platteville, and I'm probably the only person in the world that's flown from Alpine, Texas to me and my team, from Alpine, Texas to Platteville, Wisconsin. That's not a very common trip. But,
well, especially in them 12-seater planes, right?
Well, it's funny. The NCAA called, and said, well, what airport do you want to fly out of? I said, well, we can fly to Midland or El Paso. It really doesn't matter, about the same. They're like, no. You can fly to an airport that's within 70 miles. I said, there is none, So she started looking, oh, okay. So about an hour later, she called back and they had a charter plane for us. So that was kind of cool, man. We had kids.
Cool.
We had about 8 or 9 kids that never flown. So their first time on a plane was on a charter jet, man. So that was kind of fun for those guys.
And sadly, they flew back right quick on a charter. Was it a charter that they had to fly back on?
No. So I told the guys, I said, after we lost the first round, this is a great lesson in winners and losers, the difference between winners and losers, man. When we flew out there on that charter jet, we were winners.
Right.
On the way back, we had to fly. We drove 3 hours to Chicago and United flight to Houston. Every one of us in a middle seat, So
yeah, that was kind of my point. For people who didn't know, I know how that flight feels. So
yeah, I told them, I said, man, this is this is a great experience here, fellas. And it's a difference in winners and losers, man. It never,
right. Let's make sure we don't fly coach again.
That's right.
We can get that chart. Hey, Coach, what's the greatest difference between the two places you're at? Like between that school and Mary Hardin Baylor?
Commitment to winning. And I don't want this to sound like it's negative towards Sul Ross. It's just these two schools are in two different situations.
Right.
But Mary Hardin Baylor's in a position with our location, with our facilities, with our resources that we have, that our administration really cares about winning. At Sul Ross, it was survival. It was, hey, let's make sure we can get to tomorrow. And,
sure.
If we just keep getting to tomorrow, then eventually, it'll work out. But, Mary Hardin Baylor is a special place, man. There's not many schools in the entire country committed to winning as much as Mary Hardin Baylor. So
when you beat that Division I school earlier in the year, it's a big day over at Mary Hardin Baylor.
Yeah, I mean, it's we kind of go in that game expecting to win.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. I think one Ryan Scott or Quillman, one of the guys at the Final Four this week, gave me this. I think it was 182 games between D3 and D1, and we were the only team that got a win. So that was a cool day, and it's you kind of feel bad because TJ there at Texas State's my friend, and they were kind of going through a down spot in their season, and you end up getting it turned around and going all the way to semifinals of their
sure.
conference tournament. So that's a good team. We just played really well. Josiah Johnson was the best player on the floor that night from the tip to the very end. I mean, he was phenomenal that night.
Right.
We shot the ball well, so defended the post really well. So it was a good night.
I was actually rooting for you. My question is, did he give you the game because you were friends?
No, we got the game because we were the only team that had the date. Like they were looking for a specific date, and we had it open. I kind of got a feeling that maybe we're not going to get that call next year.
Maybe not. Did they paid you for it though, right? Like you went down there, they was going to pay you to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get a little check out of it.
Yeah, a little bit more new. For people who don't know, what was just tell them your background a little bit in coaching.
So, kind of stumbled into coaching. Be honest with you, got my start as a student assistant for Coach Knight at Texas Tech. Literally just started showing up to work. I wasn't officially ever hired. I just had a friend on the team to tell me when they practice, and I figured out what all the student assistants wore and went and bought my own set of gear. Before they realized I was there, I was valuable. So they didn't tell me to go
Right.
home.
So he didn't run you because you could still do stuff. I know how it works. As long as you're doing stuff, he'll keep you around.
That's right.
Like, who the hell's this guy? Why is he at practice? You know how it works.
I spent 4 years with Coach Knight at Texas Tech. It was an unbelievable experience. I kind of went in there as a sponge. I wanted to soak up everything I could. I snuck into every meeting that I could. I watched, the maddest coach ever got at me when I was skipping English class, 8 a.m. English class to stay in there and watch film with him, but it was just invaluable. All the time I get to spend with him and just soak up everything from, not just basketball, but life. I mean, he's a great man. So I went from there. Then I worked at South Plains Junior College with Steve Green, probably in my opinion, the greatest junior college coach to ever do it. We won a national championship there. I went to Collin College, worked for Jim Segota, another one of the all-time great JUCO coaches. I did that for 2 years. And then Pat Knight hired me, gave me my first big break. My first real paycheck, So Pat Knight hired me when he got the job at Lamar University, Division I down at Beaumont. So,
well, I'm gonna interrupt you here. If you talk to Pat, tell him he owes me some gear. He'll know everything about that.
Oh yeah, he owes everybody gear, man.
I'm still waiting for gear from the promise he made me from Indiana, and now he goes to Texas Tech. I didn't get that gear. Now he goes to Lamar. I didn't get that gear. So, as you know, he probably tells everybody he's getting gear. So you go ahead and you get Pat your UMBC gear. And you don't get nothing in return, and you'd be like, dude, you're a dog. Anyway, you talk to him, tell him I'm waiting for my gear.
I got you, man. I'll get you taken care of.
Yeah. Go ahead. So you go to Lamar.
So I spent 2 great years at Lamar. We made the NCAA tournament our first year there. I made a huge turnaround. I don't know exactly what the records were, but huge turnaround from a fairly significant losing season, like a 6 or 7 win season to a NCAA tournament team the next year, and then got a chance to move back home to McMurray and be a head coach. And at the time, McMurray was Division II. But went through 2 years of McMurray, 1 year is Division II, and the other year is of transitioning back to Division III. And during that time, went through a administration change, got a new president, new AD. I wasn't part of their plans. So they gave me the axe. They fired me. By the way, my record since they fired me playing against them was like 15-3. So not that I'm counting, but after McMurray, I didn't know if I would coach again. I kind of thought maybe I'd go, work for my best friend. He owns a construction company, or I'd go back to the farm, or, I just didn't know if I could get back in. And So Ross opened up, and we had some people in common, and ended up getting that job. And So Ross, at the time, I kind of laughed, but the year before I got there, they had more players arrested than they had wins, and so we had a complete rebuild on our hands there. But there were some good pieces, and I inherited some great guys that we just had to refocus the team and kind of get rid of some of the guys that weren't going to help us, and ended up having a great 5-year run. Ended up being the all-time leader in wins at So Ross. Made the tournament, the NCAA tournament once, but we won the division 3 times, and had a lot of success, but had a lot of great players, a lot of fun. It was a great adventure. But when Mary Hardin-Baylor opened up, that's the best job, I think in the country. Definitely the best job in our league or in Texas. So when I had that opportunity, I couldn't turn it down. So it was a tough decision, and but one that's been a blessing to me, and I've had a lot of fun at Mary Hardin-Baylor.
A hell of a job with it too. I was talking earlier about there's a big like I told you, there's a big Jew tournament coming up where all these Jewish teams around the country get together, and Akiva Poppers and Oren, the other guy on here, were kind of asking me about kind of recruiting, and I always say kids don't really know what coaches are looking for. Like, kids think they're looking for X, when you go recruit, like I remember when I was doing it, say at Goucher College or UMBC, right? So I tell you in about 5 minutes, not even, if like that, it's worth staying and watching. But I'll stay for the rest of the game because there's other things I want to see. Am I missing something on that? Do you have a different approach?
I'm kind of the same way. I can talk to a kid and look him in the eye and tell us, and now this ain't gonna work.
Right.
And it drives my assistants crazy because they put in a lot of work on these kids and develop relationships and evaluate and figure out if they're good enough. But I can look at a kid, I can look at him in the eye, talk to him for 5 minutes, and just know that this kid's not going to fit with me personally. He's not going to fit in the program. And that's just kind of a gift that I have that, and I'm usually not wrong, So, to play for me, you have to be a tough kid. You have to have some outstanding character to you. You have to have some resiliency. It's playing at Mary Hardin Baylor is not always rainbows and sunshines. We do a great job of giving our kids great experiences, and they get better, they develop, they really develop as a person, not just a player. Academically and socially and spiritually and all those things. We push them really hard, but it's not always great days. So we have to have some kids that can fight through adversity. We have to have some kids that have the toughness to really come back the next day and really, accept what we're giving them and grow. And that's a little bit uncommon in today's age. A lot of these kids have just been given so much, and expectancy is a big thing that I try to avoid. People that just expect something because they're X or they're from here, or they go to school here. I want kids that really are humble. I want kids that want to earn things. I want kids that don't mind getting down in the mud and working a little bit. And I think that's kind of a key to our success is we have those guys, and for the most part, and it's those guys relate to me better. They're a lot more fun to coach. And obviously the results are good. We win with them.
Would you say that what they do when you're there, what they do off the floor is as important as what they do on the floor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our program, obviously, we could all be better academically, but, our team GPA has been, anywhere between 3.1 and 3.3.
Yeah, no, coach. I'm asking. I want to get to that answer.
Yeah, okay.
Different question. When you're going to recruit the kid,
I got you.
You go to visit him and watching him play. Is what he does on the court as important or more important than what he does off the court while you're watching them play?
Yeah, no, I watch the kid. If you're only evaluating a kid when he has the ball in his hands, you're only getting about 5% of the evaluation.
Pretty much.
I don't really go to AAU tournaments anymore.
Right.
You're not getting a good evaluation. You're seeing this kid play 18, 19 minutes of a game and a little bit of him sitting on the bench. I'd rather go watch him practice. I want like a 2 hours where I can sit there and watch him and watch how he interacts with his teammates, watch how he takes coaching, watch how he, approaches drills, watch how he, deals with adversity. What happens when you go out there and you get blown by or dunked on, or somebody just manhandles you for a rebound. How do you handle that? So, I'm one of these guys that I don't think I've ever offered a kid or not offered a kid because of the way he shot the ball when I saw him. Shooting's a statistic. Like you can look at the stats, and see if you can shoot, look at that. I want to see how he gets those shots, how he gets to them. How does he finish? How does he, is it quick? Is it not? Is it confident? There's a lot that can be found just, how a kid just carries himself, the type of confidence he can exude and the leadership skill he can exude. Like you can see all that without him ever opening his mouth. He just, how he walks out on the floor, you can kind of tell that sometimes.
Right. So him scoring points in front of you is not that big a deal.
No. I mean,
eventually he's coming to you, and if he has the kind of requisite skill set, well, I'll make him a shooter. You know what I mean? I'll make him a player.
Another part of that is we don't offer kids on one evaluation. Right. If we see a kid and we like him, we're going to try to get as many evaluations as we can. nowadays we're lucky because you've got all the online, you got the huddles, you got the
sure.
college synergy. We're looking at transfer synergies. Like you can get a lot of evaluation that, like back when I started coaching, you were lucky to get one VHS of half of a game. So
You got that.
so nowadays you can get evaluation so many different ways. So
overnight you can get it.
Yeah, like, overnight. I mean, instantly, really.
Yeah, like 2 hours after the game, and you're
Yeah.
you're watching the kid play.
Yeah.
I was saying this before. I just want to know, like you could watch a kid play, but it ain't until on film. But it ain't until you see him in person that you get a true sense of the player, fair or not fair.
No, that's fair. That's the other part of it is we try not to ever offer a kid before we get a live evaluation, and sometimes it's tough. If we find a kid from out of state or a foreign kid or something like that, sometimes we got to depend on trusted sources who've seen them live or just video. But sometimes it's hard to tell how big a kid really is. Like in Division III, it is what it is. We're not getting like these super tall kids. Like not at least they can really play. Some of the best post presence guys that we have are kind of these undersized dudes, but they got big hands, they got big shoulders and big wrists and big, like they're just big lumberjacks,
Yeah.
So sometimes that's hard to tell on film, just how big a kid really is.
Right. So you might have a kid who's 6'3" and his coach used him as a post player and never worked on his perimeter skill set, and all of a sudden he's a monster in the post. I saw a kid at Salisbury once, 5'10", one of the best post players I ever saw.
Yeah.
Just killed us. He just killed us. He couldn't play with a lick on the perimeter. He bounced out the gym. He was like 5'10", 5'11". He just owned us inside. And you don't even match up with him like that because he's got 6'4" on the other side. So you have to match him up with a 5'10" little kid who's never been in there. And it gets, what it's like in there, man. It gets kind of dirty when you get some 5'10" who plays like he's 6'5". You know what I mean? That's not pretty. He tore us up. Robinson was just like, he tore us up. I mean, if my old boss, if Leonard Trevino is listening, coach, he probably still has nightmares over that guy. You know what I mean? So, but the cool part is that, like, the message I was trying to tell kids was, like, what you think coaches want to see, I can almost guarantee you we don't care about. Like kids think, well, if I score 30, or if I dribble five dribbles between my legs and stay in of course, the exact same spot is where I started to dribble. Like if I do all that fancy stuff, like coaching, I love that. I look at that and go, why I need that? I don't need that. I'm going to have to fight for you to move it. You know what I mean? I just want to know if we share that opinion, or I'm just a man standing alone. Obviously, you've already stated that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, there's so much more to basketball than what's on all these highlight tapes we get. Like,
yeah.
I mean, how many highlight tapes I get every day in an email? Like, it's insane. And what's crazy is I've got this other folder that probably 3/4 of those emails go to that. I don't even check it anymore. So like these kids that put together these highlight tapes, and they hit me on Twitter, yo, coach, man, I'm not even gonna watch that. Like.
Give me game film. Like me, I want to see your mistakes. Are they commission or omission?
Yeah.
I want to see your game film. And I don't care if you had 8 turnovers. Let me see your turnovers.
Well, here's what I want. I want your coach to pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah,
let's
right.
have a conversation, and a lot of kids don't, oh, my coach is doing this, my coach is, man, if you were a great kid and you did exactly what your coach wanted to, he would help you get to college, right? Yeah, and the fact that your coach is just sending some email of highlights instead of picking the phone and calling, might be a little bit indicative of how you were for him, so any kids that are looking to be recruited, man, have your coach pick up the phone and call, man. Like if you really want to come play for me, I'll talk to anybody. Now we don't have spots for everybody, but that's going to be a lot more effective than sending me a DM saying, yo, coach, check out my highlights.
Coach, I don't think you realize how the unique position you are in, that Akiva Poppers is on the same kind of podcast as you, Pop.
Let me tell you something, man. So last week so Dave McHugh's coming down, right? So that's whatever. I like Dave. He's my boy, right? But then I found out Popper's coming, right?
Hold on, Coach. Dave McHugh was my producer when I had a show with Bob Haney and Mark Messina. Dave was our producer. And I just kind of be like, yeah, Dave, when we need an update, we'll ask you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now Dave's like a big shot, and I'm nobody from no place. Popper's over here is like a chess player, Coach.
Popper's the man.
Now he's like a stud. Finish your sentence. So Dave's coming down, and you see Poppers with him.
So then I'm like on Twitter, I'm like, holy crap, Poppers is with Dave and his son, and he's coming down. So I'm all fired up that I'm gonna get to meet Poppers. Well, that gun we play Friday night, so then like
he's not there.
All right, so Poppers ain't gonna be here, so we have to win, right? So we don't win, I'm not gonna get to meet Poppers, right? So then after the game, obviously, Christopher Newport, the national champions, I mean, a great team. Right. It was a good game, and we get to the end and we lose and kind of go through the media and all that stuff. And I'm kind of sitting there by myself and kind of collecting things, and then it was just like, daggone, man, I can't meet Poppers.
Like Poppers. Well, now
that's why right there.
Now's your chance.
That's why.
So, Coach, I am the deliverer of it's either good news or bad news, but I am sure he's chomping at the bit. Pop, what do you got?
Well, first of all, I almost got a chance to meet Coach. I talked to Glenn Miller and to Coach Shower before when I got to CNU for like 10 minutes on Friday, but I guess UMHB wasn't there yet. So
I was enjoying a seafood feast.
Seafood food, right?
Another place where you wouldn't have seen Poppers with seafood.
Yeah, no seafood.
Probably not. But I was curious listening to the recruiting conversation if there's any mistakes you've made that you've learned from where you thought, hey, this guy is perfect for what we want to do. And then it took you, until you saw him on your team to realize, wait a minute, this is not going to work out.
Oh, yeah. My old boss, Steve Green, when I was a young assistant, I'd get really mad about recruiting a kid and, putting in a lot of work, and he'd pick somewhere else. Like he'd go to, we're at South Plains. So like the worst place a kid could go for us during that time was Midland College,
Sure.
So we had a kid that picked Midland College. I just never forget Steve Green goes, man, don't worry about the kids that you don't get, right? Worry about the kids that you take that you shouldn't have. Right. Those are the ones that kill your team, right? So every coach has those. You take a kid, you get a good feeling about him. Maybe just misevaluate him. Maybe the kid hit some flaws, or maybe their coach lied to you. Like who knows? But a lot of times, the biggest conflict with us is personality conflict. Like not everybody can play for me, right? So you do your best to try to get to know these kids and get to know their parents and things, but sometimes it's just you can't really know the whole story. So you get them out here, then all of a sudden they expect this, or they expect, like I really don't deal well with people that expect things, right? Like you got to earn things for me.
Right.
You got to earn the right to be treated a certain way. You got to earn the right to be able to take some of these shots, or some of that. So just to come in and expect it, just that doesn't deal well with me. So we've made some mistakes with that. We've had to really clean up some things. Kids that are just not humble, kids that think they, think that they've accomplished a lot and it really hadn't done nothing, So that's been some of our biggest mistakes, is that stuff.
When you got an All-American like Josiah, does that change your approach when it comes to, I mean, obviously the best shot any possession would be if you can get Josiah an open shot. I mean, just this what it is. So do you change your approach in terms of how comfortable you are letting other guys take shots because he's on the team? Does having such a good player like that impact how you deal with the other guys, or does it not impact?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Joe, and really I got two great players, like Joe and Ty are both, bona fide pros, and they're both really good players. Yeah. And so, we know that the ball's going to be in their hands and they're going to take a lot of the shots. The only thing I ask is that we're taking great team shots. And like you said, most of the time, if we can get one of those two guys in space, or we get one of those two guys open, that's the best shot for our team, for either one of those guys. But we have a lot of really talented kids. And so you ride that fine line of trying to push the ball to your best players, but you also try to keep these guys engaged and keep them going just in case something happens, like what happened to us in the tournament. Josiah Johnson breaks his wrist on his shooting hand. He's still trying to play. but obviously in the Christopher Newport, like he just wasn't able to get it going. So we needed other guys to step up, and it took us, probably 15 minutes of game time just to get everybody comfortable with the fact that Joe's not going to be able to take a shot today. So, that's where it kind of comes back to bite you. So you try to keep that fine line of, great team shots, understanding who you are, playing into the strengths of, two of the best players in the country, but also empowering these other guys enough to know that, hey, man, you guys are good players too, man. You can take open shots. So it's been a huge challenge for me the last 3 years. It's a great challenge to have, like I would take Josiah Johnson and Ty Prince every day.
Rich man problems.
So
rich man problems. Right. Hey, I had a question. Someone asked. My son actually is a college assistant, and he wanted to know. I kind of know a little bit of this answer, but what's the difference when you watch film with Coach Knight and when you watch film with other coaches?
Wow. I mean, Coach Knight was such a.
By the way, wow, is a good answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the way that his brain worked would fascinate me, and the details that he was able to pick up on, and the things.
I mean, little
things,
foot movements, like little, his foot's going this way, or his vision's here, or this step over here is detrimental to what he's doing. I mean, it's that kind of. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, just stuff like that was just so amazing, and so I literally. And I knew I drove you nuts watching film because I'd ask him 10,000 questions. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you seeing? But I promise you, it's made me. I feel like, I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here, but I feel like I'm an elite when it comes to finding things like that on film and figuring out patterns and figuring out what a team is really trying to do. Like when we're doing scouting report, they're running all of this, but what they're really trying to do is this, right? Yeah. And so that's all the stuff I learned from Coach. And I really think that it puts us in a great position. I've trained myself to do it. I take a lot of pride in it, man. And I'm eternally thankful for Coach because I feel like it gives us an advantage. I feel like that we win a lot of games before we even step on the floor because I know that we know exactly what the other team's trying to do. We're not getting fooled by all the fake stuff and all the stuff that doesn't matter. Like we're going to get right down to it, and we're going to take away what you're trying to do most.
Make you do something else, yeah.
And that's probably the best thing I learned from Coach Knight when it comes to like pure basketball is the ability to do that. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I would even ask you this if I could. Did you find it with? I mean, in my experience, his brain just worked different than any other coach I've ever met. Like in the sense that I like to call it a Talmudic. It's like it just cut through the wheat and the chaff. You know what I mean? It just I watched film with other coaches and knew that I was seeing something different now because I learned that way. I was seeing something different than everybody else was seeing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like an analytical nuisance, Coach. Is that what you're saying?
No, you are an analytical nuisance, but but no, Cliff, do you know what I mean? Like it's like you sit and work for other guys and you know that they're not seeing what you see because you were taught to see it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, to me, it was the ability, just like you said, to cut through all the crap, what really matters. And, when we get to Mary Hardin Baylor and I hire my new assistant, and so we're getting ready to do the first kind of scouts. And I kind of get excited about, the first couple of scouts because I'm going to teach this guy something, so,
right.
So he comes to me, he's like, all right, what do you want on the scouts? And I want to know the three things they do to score. And so he brings me 3 plays. I'm like, no, not plays.
Get the plays. Exactly right.
What do they do? And
my son's jumping through the roof right
now. and so he's looking at me. So he comes back, and so it just takes him a little while, but it was great once it clicked with him.
Once the light turns on, yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that makes my life a lot easier." Because I don't care. We run against teams that'll run 25 sets in a game. I don't care about the sets. What do they accomplish? And so you just cut through all the junk. You just cut through all the false motion and things like that. And you really stick to what's important. And in Division III, it really helps us because we only get so many weeks to practice. We only get so much time in the gym per week, and these kids are involved in all different kinds of things. So we can't go out there and do a 5-hour game prep. We got our 2 hours of practice and our 30 minutes of film. We better get stuff in there. So we simplify things probably too much. To be honest with you, we could probably do more. But with the team that we have and the talent that we have, the simpler we can keep things and really. Both ways, offensively and defensively. The simpler we can keep things and kind of clear their mind and let them play hard, the more success we have.
Coach, are you good if I jump in with a question here?
Do I mind? Yes, I do mind, but I'll let you anyway.
When you're doing a report, are you trying to simplify it such that it's on like a 5th grade level, like bullet points? Or do you have like paragraphs and
Pop is coming after me, Coach. Pop is coming after me.
Make your players.
Pop is coming after me with this question. I'll tell you why. Because we never talk about plays, ever. Coach, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Pop wants every scouting report that we ever do. He wants to read it. And like when he was a knucklehead undergrad, he actually would do like these pregame previews.
Game previews, yeah.
Grab stuff from the scouting report and put it on there. And I'm like, you knucklehead, don't you think I got a hold of my son to tell that idiot Popper to take that stuff off that's proprietary information. Coach, like we're gonna make him play to his right shoulder because we know he can't. Well, this idiot puts it in the thing. I'm like, Pop, why would you put it in the preview? So he's learned his lesson, I think. But what he's trying to get to is instead of we'll compartmentalize a guy, but we won't do it in bullet points. We're actually expecting you as a college kid to actually be able to read and comprehend a paragraph on a dude. So he wants to know, that's your question, right, Pop?
Yeah.
My question, Coach.
Over for years.
So my assistants have taught me into using this program called Just Play. We do all of our scouts on Just Play. And, I get people calling all the time, hey, can you share your scout on whatever, right? And I said, yeah, I can send it to you. And I always get, that's it. That's all you guys do. That's it. I'm like, like our scouting reports.
Where are your diagrams at?
We don't have, you talk about putting bullet points or paragraphs, and we don't have none of that. We don't do any of it, each player that we have, we talk about it and they each have, depending on how important they are to the team between, some guys get 3 clips, some guys get 10 clips, but there's never more than 10 video clips on them. And we really don't have the bullet points, all that stuff. It's the stats are there, so we can talk about, hey, this kid can shoot or this kid can do that. Or, the really important players, we're talking about it. We're walking through it. I've got it on my sheet, my little note card that I keep. I've got things that we want to make sure we cover, tendencies and things like that. But I don't really overload our guys. We don't have a team that really processes all that information like that. We keep it simple. We go over, literally the highlights, like, what do they do best? And that's what we're going to talk about. And
we're going to take that away and let's see if we can.
Yeah.
Can't play to his left hand. He's going to be there all night.
Yeah.
So I personally think there are not a lot, just from my years of experience in doing it, there's just not a lot of guys who think that way. So it is kind of cool that we're kind of a little bit spirits in that regard, probably because we from the same school, I would say.
I'm sure that there's a lot of coaches out there that think I'm an idiot, like the only reason we win is because we're the best player in the country. But
they can watch you win again next year.
To me, there's a lot of power and simplicity. I think basketball at times can be way overcoached, and really, when you really think about it, hanging out with Beard, when they were playing Virginia and we're going through all their scout and, I was lucky enough to kind of be in the room with them and kind of help with some of that, watching that film and things like that. So, but you know, he just made the comment that I kind of stuck with me. He's like, man, we can try to guard this blocker mover all we want. They can try to guard our motion all we want. We do it. He goes, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to us stopping, you know, their best player from breaking down and getting to the rim, and they're going to have to stop Jarrett Culver from getting to the rim. You know, like at the end of the day, all that stuff goes away. And so you have to really just, when it comes down to what the very crux of things are, you know, how can we stop them? You know, and that was just profound to me, you know, like a lot of this stuff doesn't matter, you know, this we have to guard the players.
Just go to the blocker mover for a second. A lot of similarities though with what some of your motion movement when you were running at Texas Tech.
Yeah. I mean,
It's not totally the same, but
yeah.
when Dick Bennett was doing it, it has a lot, you know, it's a little more maybe plotting is a good word. You know what I mean? The blocker mover is I wouldn't say it's the same school, but there's a lot of similar.
Yeah, it's similar. Just a little more structure to it. You want to make sure that you're keeping guys, you know, in places. You know, you're kind of designating who the screeners are.
Right.
Yeah, it's one thing I always liked about the way we run our motion, the way Coach Knight taught us, and you know how it's kind of evolved. You know, with some of us is that, you know, it truly is open motion. Like, you know, we play positionless basketball. That's kind of a hot topic now, man. But this is something that Coach Knight's been doing for years and years.
Cliff, hey, listen, guys are going like I get this kid. I told this story on this podcast before. I get this kid. He's like 6'1" Jewish kid. He's like in 8th grade, and so I'm working out his friend, and he comes to the workout, and I'm like, okay, we're going to do this here drill here. Well, I'm not allowed to dribble. I said, why aren't you allowed to dribble? He goes, well, because I'm a 5. I go, you're a 5, son. Shaquille O'Neal is a 5. You're a 6'1" Jew who max is going to be 6'3", 6'4", dude. You better get a guard skill set. So I don't even know what a 4 is. I don't know what that is. I've never numbered a player in my life. And now all of a sudden the whole world's playing positionless basketball as if what's his name? Buzz came up with it. You know what I mean? Like I've never done it. And I'm just glad people caught up with me after 40 years. Yeah, like, right. Am I like, sometimes you feel like you're on an island and no one else is there. And now all of a sudden everybody wants to get part of the coconut.
I love when kids come on recruiting trips and I'm recruiting. Hey coach, what position do you think I can run? So I don't know. What do you want to be?
That's what
I think I want to be a 2. Okay, then you're a 2. You know, that's fine with me. And so then they get here, right? And so we're going through practice, and so the kid comes with, hey coach, I thought you said I could be the 2. I said, you are 2. He goes, well, I'm on the floor with, he's a 2. I said, he's a 2 also. That's fine. He goes, well, that kid over there is a 2. I said, you can all be 2s. Who cares? We have 5 2s. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly right.
You know,
it's great that you can't find one player ever played for me. They'll tell you what number. What'd you play? I don't know. I mean, you know, one time I had a 6'3" point guard and a 5'10" post player. Like, you know why? Because that's what they did really well. Yeah. That's kind of from that school of thought. Like, I'm just going to do just give me my 5 best players. I'll figure it out.
That's right.
Just tell me what you can.
Give me 5 guys that can guard the other team. We'll figure it out.
That's what's up. That's exactly what's up. Oh, Cliff, I can't even tell you how great. One, because I don't feel like I'm totally an idiot. You know, now that I know everybody thinks you're an idiot, I feel pretty good.
Well, I mean, we may just be 2 idiots talking together on Zoom.
You could be right. And Poppers, the intellectual, is looking at us going, boy, these guys are idiots. You know what I mean? What do you mean, bullet points? No bullet points? You know, but my it's, you know, I know because of the school you came from, like the school of thought, that you know you're kind of on this island shaking your head going, all right, whatever, I'll play you. You know what I mean? Like, am I wrong about it? You just kind of go like, okay, like you do it your way. We'll just do it this way and be stupid and win.
I mean, Harold, I'm a cotton farmer from West Texas, man. Like, like there's no other college basketball coaches like me, you know, like, I mean, I'm fat. I got a great.
Yeah. There's a lot like me. Yeah. There's a lot like me, coach.
Yeah. You know, like if I tried to be like everybody else, like I would not succeed, you know, like I embrace being different. I embrace who I am. I embrace my personality, you know, like, you know, I tell kids all the time, like, if you're going to come here to play for me, this is who I am, you know, like, I'm not going to put up some show. I'm not going to be some self-promoting jerk that, you know, is going to tell you one thing and act the way like I'm not that smart. I can't do that, man. I just am who I am and I do what I do. And it's just like,
Fellas, it's like a kindred spirit, Oren, huh?
yeah.
Like, have you not heard this for the last 9 episodes? I mean, Coach, it's the same exact. Like, dude, I'm not like I tell my wife, I know 2 things in this world: basketball and women. And my wife goes, "Well, at least you know basketball." So like, half the guys I play against will go, "Well, I'm not even sure. I hope you know women better than you know basketball." You know what I mean? But it's kind of like it's like I kind of try to tell them. Sometimes people will watch. Some guys will watch film, and they're watching basketball, and other guys are watching the migration habits of pelicans in 1571 Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Like what they see, they just don't see what I see, and I realize that, and I understand that, and I, just hope I get them on my schedule twice. That's all. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of always been my take on it. It's a first of all, I had a question to ask you that I can't really ask you on this podcast because it's proprietary. It's a defensive question that only you will understand, and I just don't want to put it out there. So I might call you.
Half the world's trying to play the no middle defense now. So
I know, but they're not necessarily doing it the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so, well, thanks for throwing that out there. I appreciate that. Really, Cliff. So I may hit you up in a little bit, but it. I mean, that may be so, but when you watch the game like when you watch teams playing this weekend, if they're trying to play it, they're not all doing it, mostly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're unique in that you're kind of actually doing it. You know what I mean by that? Like other guys, they may say they're doing it, but 3 dribble drives in a row and they're ditching that thing for a 2-3 zone or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like I used to really get tickled, especially when I was working for Pat, and we would have, I'm not going to name the names, but we'd have like big time coaches call us, "Hey, I want to learn this motion offense, like it's so beautiful. I want to learn it. And so we would take a trip, me and Pat, we go out to wherever, major university. I said, I'm not going to name names, but we'd go in there and we'd sit down and, all right, tell us about this motion. And we'd pull up some film and start looking at things and this and that. And then he'd say, all right, well, if I want them to force them to do this, then how do I do that? I said, that's not the motion. Like, and he's like, well, but these are something I really care about. This is something I want done every time. I said, then you're not going to run the motion, and so you have to really commit to it. If you're going to be a true motion team, you have to commit to it. You got to run from day one. You can't give up control, right?
Bingo, dude, that's it, Cliff.
Yeah.
And that's why most coaches don't do it. 1, because they're too intimidated by it, and 2, they're afraid to give up control, and they'd rather, as McKillop once told me, joystick their teams to.
Yeah,
coach, the Kennesaw State Xavier game, example 101.
There you go. So the no middle defense or the side defense, what you want to call it, is a little bit the same. Like, you have to kind of give into it. You've got to believe in it. You got to drill it. You've got to stay faithful to it. It's not perfect. There's not going to be a defense out there with the rules the way they are, the freedom of movement, even though it's kind of gone out the window here this year. But with kind of the way things are, like, you're not going to be able to stop everything. So to me, the side defense is no middle.
Yeah, you got to choose what you're going to give up.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it as tough as we can to score, which inherently means you're trying to lower shooting percentages, right? So you're trying to take the highest percentage shot that they have is a dunk or a layup at the rim, and you're trying to take that away. And then you're trying to take all the other shots, and if they have a 3-point shot, wide open three, maybe 38%, you're trying to make it 34%, so and you're still going to give up 34% of shots. But at the end of the day, I tell my guys all the time, we're going to make teams force them to make shots to beat us. And most of the time we can't do that, right? So if we'll stay true to ourselves and take away the layups and offensive rebounds, like, we'll figure it out. So you have to really, it's just like the motion, coaching the motion, you have to just kind of commit to it and do it. And This year I thought I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna put in a zone. Well, then I figured out that they kind of use it as a crutch. So they know if we give up 4 blowbys, I'm gonna jump in the zone and we're gonna get our brains beat in because our zone was terrible, right? Because I don't believe in it, right? So I took the zone out. I said, hey, there's no more crutch. You guys got to figure it out. And after we did that, we got a little better. But yeah, you got to commit to it and really do it.
Coach, did you change some of the things you did in your motion with personnel, or you kind of stayed the same?
Yeah. So that's the beautiful thing about the motion, and
Exactly right. That it's like an accordion.
Yeah. And another thing I really learned from Coach Knight, like your motion is what your team needs it to be, right? So
Got it.
So we, in 2018, I had a great big guy, had one of the best big guys in the country. So our motion was based around post ups and post entries and all that kind of stuff.
Did you run triangle on it or something, or just go 5 out, 1 in, or
we do some of the old schools, some of the stuff that Coach did, the triangle motion, the 3-man motion that with 2 feeders. Yeah, we do some of that.
But you're basically 5 out.
Yeah, basically 5 out. I mean, in today's game,
I think I was just going to beat you to the punch.
With
clear outside the 3 and let's figure this out. Yeah.
I tell you what I did last summer is I really dug into Golden State Warriors. I just thought what they did was brilliant, and to me, it's motion. Like I'm watching.
It is taken from Poppers. I mean, from Popovich.
Popovich,
who was it in college, kind of.
And so
they turned it into that. Yeah.
I really studied them, and I mean, I watched every game. With Synergy, it's great. You can watch it, go back over the summers, watch games, just watch it over and over and over. Then I kind of mentioned to a couple of buddies of mine what I was doing, and one of them said, "Well, I mean, would you like to talk to Coach Kerr about it?" Yeah, but he's not going to pick up. He's not going to take my phone call. So I actually had a short conversation with Coach Kerr, and all I want to know from him was how does he build it? Like where do you start, where do you build it? And his mention to me was everything was based on the give and go, and that blew my mind. Like you want
because it's just a simple little Eastern give and go. That's big. Like it's a great old coach told me that it's just the Eastern give and go, the old throw it and go bucket. But that's the crux of your own offense too.
Yeah,
that you're right.
Yeah, so we so that really helped us. Kind of because when you have 2 players like we did, we need to get Joe and Ty space and we need to put them in positions so we're playing 2-man games. If we can get a switch onto one of them and then put those 2 guys in a 2-man game. So we just simplified it. We don't run a whole lot of sets. We run a few entries, but not a whole lot of sets. And really we just focus on space and we're like Coach Knight really liked having 2 actions going at the same time. That was we
bounce from one
side, back on the other. It's really hard to get kids to do that anymore, just because it's so dribble drive dependent, so dribble drive heavy. And we don't have time to really teach it because we don't start practice October 15th. So I really simplified it. If we do have an action, it's 1 action at a time. So it's an action in space. And then we try to attack closeouts, so it's just kind of taking what we learned from Coach Knight and what we did and just kind of bring it into, this century's, what these guys are doing nowadays. And really all we're doing is nothing that, I'm just stealing things from the Warriors and the heart,
Coach, are you like the 2 count, not necessarily in the post, but the holder for a 2 count?
Yeah.
One of the things I did with it was, sorry, hey fellas, I'm just sorry if you're getting lost in the weeds here a little bit, but
no, we know what you're talking about.
It's too bad. It's my friggin' show. We do what we want, Coach. So in today's basketball, I think there's an opportunity to trade that for forcing closeouts. In other words, I would rather swing it quicker and ball movement, player movement, like Barkley said on TV last night, incredibly enough. Like to the multiple bar versus possession, I would sacrifice the 2 count on occasion for that. If I had to prioritize, anticipate and bring the ball, the action, all that, but kind of forcing you to close out. Multiple closeout possession is murder. You know that as a defensive guy, like it's just murder. But
Yeah.
if I can force you to do that, right? Am I making some sense here for you?
So we try to really teach these guys, you know, like Pop had the 0.5 second rule, right? So you got to know within half a second what you're doing with the ball.
Right.
So we really try to teach the guys, when you catch it, if you know that we're setting a down screen for Josiah Johnson, you're going to hold it for 2 seconds and let that try to happen, right? You know, because that's going to give us the best chance to score. We're going to get our bet, you know, one of the probably the best offensive player in the country, you know, a down screen. Yeah, let's let that. But if that's not the case, right? So if we don't have an action set up, or if the action that we have maybe is not to our advantage, you know, and if we do swing it, we're swinging it to Ty Prince for a closeout, you know, with their 5-man. Yeah, let's be smart about what we're doing. And if we're playing 0.5 basketball, then that's great. If we're playing, you know,
1.5,
what we call our motion gear, you know, then it's 2 seconds, right? So yeah, that's part of the new teaching points of the new motion. The updated motion is when to swing it, when to hold it, you know, when to attack, when not to attack. You know, that takes time. That takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot. It's frustrating for the kids, you know, because one time they catch it, it needs to be swung. One time they catch it, it needs to be held. You know, and they have to understand the difference.
Right. So no, I'm just saying from a priority standpoint, especially if I can shoot the basketball and get it to my shooter in the corner, and I'm just one more in it till we get it to him, you know, like that. And then all of a sudden you cheat that, and now we get defensive breakdown on penetration. So, Coach, I don't want to keep you longer. You know, you and I could go about this for probably days at a time. These 2 youngsters probably need to hit the set because it's 11 whatever here on the East Coast. Me, I could talk to you forever, and if you're still going to be awake, and when I hang up from this, I'm gonna call you with my question.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's something, but I don't want to put it out here. Like, thanks for putting all my crap out here right now. I got a tournament in 3 days. I appreciate you opening your big mouth, Coach. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, hey, if anybody wants to know how to beat it, call me. I can beat it. It might cost you a little.
Call you or Christopher Newport, right? Like,
well, hey, that was real easy with Christopher Newport, man. They just hit a bunch of shots with us glued to them, man. They played out of their minds offensively, which they can. They're a great team. You know?
Oh, guys do that, and you just be like, whatever. See you next year. You know, you're gonna make shots.
The frustrating thing with that was that, you know, we kind of knew that we could get into the game like that, and you know, we felt like that if Josiah Johnson was healthy, we'd had a better shot of really scoring with him. You know,
match him bucket for bucket, right?
You know, so at some point in basketball, when you're playing high level basketball like that, like teams just gonna be able to get a bucket on you, and so you got to be good enough offensively to go get a bucket. You know, and so that's
right. That's why you're still playing.
Yeah, you know, and you know, that's why I'm on the road in a hotel trying to recruit. You know, like we're going to get, you know, we got to get better play, you know, better. So, you know,
I mean, but you guard, to me, and if you can guard, you have a chance every single year. Like to me, it's attitudes, everything. I was just telling my team that it's everything. And if you get your kids alike defending, boy, that's more than half the battle is enjoying defending. And getting stops. And sometimes guys are just going to make shots, and you just kind of go like, all right, we got beat today. But not because we weren't where we were supposed to be. It's just because they made more shots than we did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So now that you threw my stuff out there, I want to thank you for that. Boy, Pop, I'm glad I had this idea. Boy, this has come back to bite me. Poppers is happy. But no, Cliff, this is just great. Like I said, I could talk to you all night. But we've been on here for almost 2 hours. So 2 hours live, brother.
I mean, so Quillman texts me, right? So he says, "Hey, man."
Oh well, there goes that discussion.
Well, here's the deal. So like my deal is, you know, I'm kind of the D3 food guy now, right? I mean, how cliche is that? You're gonna take the fat guy and make him the food guy, right?
Now, why is Poppers never not the food guy?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, come on. So
well, we already had that with the bacon.
Yeah, so see, Quillman's trying to save me from the bacon conversation, right? And so I actually do a little research. Right? So I learned, and admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about the Jewish faith. You know, like I'm learning. I want to learn some more.
Guarantee you, Cliff, what's about to come out your mouth is going to prove it. But go ahead.
Okay. But listen, and I'm serious about this, man. Like, yeah, Yeshiva and Mary Hardin Baylor need to get a home and home going. You know, we
I
need to learn
told
about
you
each
he
other's
wants
stuff,
to
right?
play. Elliot wants to play, dude. I told you.
Okay, but here's the deal: brisket,
Kosher. now
brisket.
you definitely had a Quillman conversation because Quillman knows about brisket.
All right, so I'm just like that's my favorite thing, man, in the whole world. A good old Texas brisket, man, salt, pepper, and smoke, baby.
Well, I mean, we get you some Jew brisket. You come down our way.
Well, I mean, listen, it's got to be better than that brisket I had in Indiana, right? Like, I don't care what faith you were. That brisket was not. I mean, that was unholy, is what that was. I don't care what faith. I mean, that brisket was.
Let me tell you something, Cliff. I'm gonna defer to you. I'm going back to. I'm gonna defer to you on food right quick. You know what I mean? Like Indiana brisket's not kosher enough for me, so I can't eat. But if you want to get into brisket, you need to come catch my wife's brisket now.
Well, I mean,
I was 185 when I got married, brother. I haven't seen 185. My daughter's 34. Long since she was 30, since she was born. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's all because of Jew brisket. It's kosher brisket.
So what I'm hearing from you is that we need to have a brisket cook-off between me and your wife.
That's what's up. But it's going to have to be kosher if you want me to eat it.
Well, absolutely, it's kosher. I mean,
Bring it on, brother.
do I need to get a certain
Look,
brisket?
it's like I always say, never trust a skinny baker. So if the fat guy with the brisket's coming, you know he knows what he's doing.
That's right. I mean, look at this, man. Like, you know, the barbecue T-shirt, man. That's my deal,
Love
man.
it, love it. That's great, Coach. That is so great.
Hey, I'm serious though. I cannot wait. We're gonna figure this out. I
Yeah,
cannot.
let's
wait
do it
until-
because Elliot wants to play. He'd love it. He would love it, and so he just wants to make sure it's on an upswing, not like when the freshmen show up. Senior league freshmen show
Yeah,
up.
no, I get you. I get you.
But I'm saying, like, he'd love to play. Just reach out. He'd love it. Love
All
it.
right.
Love it. We could.
As long as I get the kosher brisket, man. That's gonna be my guarantees. The kosher brisket.
Listen, hey, then when we finally meet in person, I will bring you kosher brisket. All right, and you will thank me.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Then shake your head. Say, well, it's not better than a ham sandwich.
Well, like I said, they taught me to the brisket in Indiana. Like I said, that was just unholy, man. I don't care what your faith is. That brisket was just bad, man.
Well, thank God I couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're up in like an hour, are you gonna still be awake?
Yeah, I
got. I'll hit you, or else I'll hit you up in the morning.
Yeah, you can hit me up anytime. I'm out here recruiting. I don't have nothing to do till after tomorrow. So after lunch tomorrow. So
my son is one of Elliot's is actually Elliot's longest standing assistant ever. And I just got a text from him that says, let's play. Three exclamation points.
All right. Hey, let's
He
do
loves
it.
the challenge. Believe me, he loves the challenge of Mary Hardin Baylor. Trust me.
Our biggest challenge is gonna be able to find a gym, man. I'm not so sure about jumping on subways and all that. It's a little bit outside of my realm.
Oh man, you get out. We'll take care of you. Hey, Poppers will be your protection.
Protection.
Yeah, that body. Yeah, don't. Hey, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, Cliff.
Hey,
that's Poppers.
Poppers might have some.
He really doesn't, Coach. He's just got a Smith and Wesson, and that's about it.
Coach, the shorts and cold weather scare people off.
Well,
That's right.
Yeah, I have noticed that there, Poppers.
Right, with them legs like that. Like, how do you even? It's not like he's even wearing. Hey, I see Poppers and shirts. That reminds me of Cliff. It reminds me of Coach Knight in like green shorts with red socks, and what I'm talking about, and like tan sneakers, and like a blue shirt. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, what happened to you when you woke up? Like, that's Poppers. Like, it's the same kind of. That's what I was thinking. I think Coach Knight walk around. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Hey, I was just thankful that when I came to the locker room that he had clothes on most of the time.
Hey, dude, you are not allowed. I'm gonna tell this story in public. Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell this story. You're gonna appreciate this. I'm gonna tell this story in public right now. I bring Shamel Jones. I don't know if you know who he is. He played at Memphis. He played at Georgetown. I brought him out to Indiana for summer camp, and we get there. I don't know. It's probably 6 a.m. Coach is like, just bring him downstairs to the coach's office. So I come downstairs, I knock on the door, and he's coming out the shower, and you know what I'm talking about. He's just wiping himself off, and he opens the door. And Jones, he's like 6'8". He looks at me and goes, Cat, that man is buck naked. And Coach looks at me and goes, you have great vision. You could play for me. I mean, it's totally white. You know what I'm talking about,
Hey.
right? Like, just he doesn't care. He's like, great vision. And it's not like he went ahead and grabbed a pair of shorts
No.
and over here
No.
talking to you. Like,
I bet he sat in there for an hour talking to you naked.
he did. And the kid's kind of tight. Kids like, we go to the couch and the kid's like doing like this, and Coach, he's just working himself out. It's so cool. I never shared that publicly, so I apologize, Coach, if you ever get this, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, all you gotta do is talk to somebody who knows what you're talking about. It's like, absolutely, I got stuff for you. You have no idea. That was hilarious, and that was typical Coach. Great vision. You can play for me. Dude, that's so good. All right, Coach, I'm gonna let you go because we're gonna have to wrap up in a minute. But we're gonna have you back because you are terrific.
Hey, anytime, man. Just let me know.
Awesome. Not only that, Pop, wasn't it Cliff that said when we first said we were doing a podcast, be like, dude, right? Like, wasn't he one of the guys who commented?
It was Cliff and Clay. Cliff commented, and Clay Nunley also.
And Clay Nunley went, run the other way. All right, Coach. Thanks so much. I'm going to pop you in a little bit, all right? And I have a question I have to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, brother. Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate you coming out, man. Awesome.
Thank you, Coach.
Yo, fellas, come on.
Coach, I don't think we can proceed with the show after that. I think you got to close there, no?
I mean,
I still have 3 questions for him.
did you
All right,
really?
Lame on.
No. Pop.
Lightning
We'll
round.
get him next time. We'll get him next time.
Lightning round?
All right, we'll get him next
No,
time.
I had 3 questions for Coach Carroll.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have no questions for me. He talks to me every day.
I ask you the questions every day, yeah. But we'll get him another time. So I'm on to it.
Pop, you just should have at least texted me and said, I got a couple questions.
Nah,
Coach will just call him right after. And
No, it's like, honestly, first of all, did I lead you astray? Like, did I not tell you about recruit? Like, for the kid, did I not tell you about recruit? That's what coaches look for, man.
yeah.
They don't look for the nonsense that people think. And when coaches send kids highlight tapes of players, that's when you know that coach does not know what you want. If he's sending you a highlight tape of a player, then he doesn't know what you want. Because I would much rather see a crappy game, but a full-length game than that. Like that, I can make my mom look like an NBA player on film. I want to see your mistakes. I want to see the shots you take. I want to see how you do it. You know what I mean? So just sort of I'm so glad he was there. He really is a brilliant basketball coach, as much as he downplays it. And he's just, I mean, it's kind of unfair for me because we come from the same school and the same school of thought. And so I'm biased to it, but all I can say is he was playing in it. What was that, Pop? The Elite Eight?
Sweet
Sweet 16.
But he got the hardest. He got the best team. So like,
I mean, he is part of the reason that was the best draw. You understand? The hardest draw is partly because he was.
Yeah, but also that whole pod was a total nightmare. First he had to deal with the Texas pod, and then he had to do, even if he would have beat CNU, then he would have gotten Whedon.
Well, I mean, if he's healthy, maybe things are different.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's basketball. And he's loaded, and it's one thing to have talent. It's another thing to know how to coach with it. So, so are we done then, Oren? Like, we're kind of
Yeah.
Is there anything y'all had for me before we go?
Pop, anything on your end?
I'll be seeing you in a couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, coaches.
Now I'm even rethinking the trip once I heard that.
Time to lock in now. No more playing time anymore.
that now?
It's time to lock in. There's no more playing.
Yeah.
I got my front row. I got my front row seat now that the FDU Knights are now playing at MSG in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I mean, but we wanted, when we started this thing, we wanted a high level basketball podcast. I'm not really sure. I mean, we could get more into the weeds, but then we lose everybody. But if you wanted to understand a little bit more about the game, you did that tonight. That was great.
No, definitely mission accomplished for sure.
We got a question from Bob Quillman. He said, "Ask Coach to get the IWU scout from Yeshiva, please." But I'm gonna guess that's a no right there.
Tell him to read the preview for next year's
Does
game.
Does he want this year's or last year's?
I can ask him. I don't. You're gonna send him to the.
No.
We'll do a trade. We'll do a trade.
I mean, look, I like when we play Fuchs, I asked him what they saw.
USC, well, naturally.
And I told Zach what we saw, and we may play each other next week.
Yeah.
But I was going to tell him anyway, and I told him that we're just trying to make the kids better, and we want to get better, and he want to get better. So I think sharing your stuff. I mean, it's not my place to send it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't necessarily, if you're deep in the weeds like this now, you can kind of figure it out. You know what I mean? Like what we had and what they had. So I'll tell you what. You tell Bob this. It was quite impressive. It's IWU has an impressive group, and it was very difficult to do. And to his credit, my son got in there. We kind of worked really hard at it. I think it was mostly Alec. And like I said, like I've told you before, we kind of watch film a little different, and it's cool to hear Cliff say the same thing. So that's it. Like, let's close it up then, Oren.
I think that was the whole point of having him on. If kids were watching, to see the window of a college-minded coach, of a college coach, not minded college coach, and see what they're looking for when recruiting players to come play for the program.
It's not, and I would tell you, 99 out of 100 people that kid's going to talk to is going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Dad's going to get it wrong. Mom's going to get it wrong. Brother's going to get it wrong. Brother who played ball is going to get it wrong. They're just going to get it wrong.
In that case, I would direct them to this past segment.
That's what I would do if a kid wants to really know what coaches are looking for.
Yeah.
That's sort of what's up here.
Yeah. So the Red Sarachek tournament in 3 days from now, you'll get to see Coach in action. You'll get to see his team and 23 other schools across the United States and Canada.
You probably not get to bed after all the talking I'm doing.
Thanks so much, as always, to our fans for tuning in. It's sure to be an exciting weekend. I'll have front row seats to the YMC game on Thursday night. Pop will be on the sideline. We look forward to seeing everyone
there. News to me, Oren.
Yeah. Well, as a sideline reporter.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Good save. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Have a great night and enjoy the rest of your March. I'm sure there's more madness to come, like my latest comment.